What time is it?
Moments of Inspiration with Zoe.
Hey fam, how you doing? This is Zoe, and this is another episode of Moments of Inspiration, and I always love spending time with you, and this time is no different. Well, we're going to talk really briefly today about keys to stability. You know, this past week I was just going over and reviewing over my life, and there were some keys there that I want to share with you that has really helped me throughout my journey thus far, and so I want to share that with you on today. Once again, we're talking about keys to stability. You know, a lot of times in our lives we could be going here or there in our mind, just mentally it could just be draining, absolutely draining to ourselves and those in connection with us. It could affect them as well, and so these are a few keys that helped me along the way in certain decisions and things that I went through in my life. And so number one, we have to remember this, that we cannot break the law. We can only break ourselves upon the law. What do I mean by that? Well, there are certain principles, certain guidelines that leads us to success. And when we quote unquote break those, we make our lives very disorderly. But technically speaking, you can't break principles and laws because they don't change. And so you can only break your life upon those principles, those laws, those foundations. And when you do that, when you disobey those principles, your life becomes disorderly. And so that's one thing that I want you to know there. And so once again, principles, foundations, they can't be moved, they can't be changed. You can only hurt yourself when you disobey those principles. Number two is, when you don't follow principles, it causes disorder in your life and the ones connected to you. We already touched on that. And number three, I have disorder always precedes destruction. If you walk in disorder long enough, it always precedes destruction in the neglected area. I remember there was a time in my life I was going through quite a few things, and I would blame others for what I was facing. But when I really looked at it, I was the only common denominator in all of the situations. So I had to deal with me first. I couldn't worry about what other people were doing. I had to deal with me. That's very important. And the next thing I have here, number four, is that circumstances change, and that's why you can't depend on them as a foundation. Circumstances always change. You cannot depend on that as your foundation, and you can't expect to still stand firm in a storm when you're depending on your circumstances to line up and depending on your circumstances to bail you out. You have to stand on principles. That's the main thing there. And I want to share with you briefly here in Luke chapter 6, it talks about a man building his house upon a rock, and when the storms came, it did not move because he was built on the right thing. But then there was a foolish man that built his house on regular sand. And what happened? When storms came and the floods came, his house fell because it was built on the wrong thing. I want to encourage you, let's make sure that we're building our foundation on the right thing. And those are principles, not circumstances. And I want to share these last few things with you here. In Proverbs chapter 9, it says, forsake foolishness and live and go in the way of understanding. Let understanding guide your steps. Instruct the wise and they will be even wiser. Teach the righteous and they will learn even more. Another version says that they will know more than their teachers. So it's very important that we find principles, and when you stand on principles, that is what will last forever. It never changes, and that's what will bring you peace. You won't have to look over your shoulder and wonder what's going to happen. If you work it long enough and consistent enough, you will win. I love you. God bless you. And remember that something good is going to happen to you. God bless.
Moments of Inspiration with Zoe.